How do non-motor symptoms manifest in focal epilepsy seizures? Imagine experiencing a sudden strange feeling or sensation that seems to come out of nowhere. That's often how non-motor symptoms show up in focal epilepsy seizures. These symptoms do not involve shaking or convulsions, but can be just as impactful. They happen because focal seizures start in a specific part of the brain and influence different functions depending on where the seizure originates. One common way non-motor symptoms appear is through sensory changes. People might see visual distortions or hallucinations, like flashes of light or unusual shapes. Some might hear sounds or voices that aren't really there. Others could smell or taste things that don't exist, which are called olfactory or gustatory hallucinations. Sensations like tingling, numbness, or a feeling of spinning or floating can also occur. These sensory symptoms reflected seizure activity in the brain areas responsible for processing senses. Autonomic symptoms are another group of non-motor signs. These involve involuntary functions controlled by the nervous system. For example, someone might feel a rising sensation in their stomach or nausea. Their heart might race or they could experience palpitations. Sweating, goosebumps, or changes in breathing patterns can also happen. These symptoms suggest that the seizure involves parts of the brain that regulate automatic bodily functions. Emotional and cognitive changes are also common. During a focal seizure, a person might suddenly feel intense fear, anxiety, or happiness without any clear reason. They might experience déjà vu, feeling like they have already lived through the moment, or jamais vu, where familiar surroundings seem strange. Thinking can become difficult, with problems remembering things, finding words, or understanding speech. Some people report out of body or dreamlike sensations. These symptoms often come from seizures in the temporal lobe, which is involved in emotion and memory. Behavior arrest is another non-motor manifestation. It looks like the person suddenly stops moving or becomes unresponsive for a brief moment, but they are still aware of their surroundings. They might appear frozen or stare into space. This can be confusing for observers and sometimes mistaken for daydreaming or inattention. Auras are a special type of non-motor symptom. They are focal-aware seizures that often serve as warning signs for a larger seizure to come. Auras can include any of the sensory, emotional, or autonomic symptoms we've discussed. For example, a person might smell something strange or feel a sudden wave of fear. Because auras are purely non-motor and happen while the person remains conscious, they can be subtle but important clues for diagnosis. It's also important to recognize that non-motor seizures can be subtle and brief. They might only involve a fleeting hallucination or a strange feeling, which can make diagnosis tricky. Sometimes these symptoms are mistaken for psychiatric issues or other neurological conditions. That's why careful medical evaluation is essential. In summary, non-motor symptoms in focal epilepsy can manifest as changes in sensation, emotions, cognition, autonomic functions, or behavior. They often occur without visible movements but can significantly affect a person's life. Recognizing these signs helps in diagnosing and managing epilepsy effectively. If you or someone you know experiences these symptoms, it's important to consult a healthcare professional for proper assessment and care. Remember, every person's experience with epilepsy is unique, and personalized medical advice is always the best course of action.